In the world of professional wrestling, when something is over, it means fans love it. It means whatever they got going on, whatever they're doing, is working. This is Overs and Unders, where I talk about teams in MPL Philippines Season 13 that I think are over. For me, I love them. What they're doing is great. It's working. And teams that are not so over, we'll call them under. In this episode, we're looking at teams who are over and under in week 4 of this season. Like last week, moving forward, we'll be talking about teams in order, meaning the first team mentioned will be the most over for me, and the last team will be, well, you get the point. First up, shout outs to those enjoying the series. These are comments taken from the YouTube channel. Click like and subscribe if you're much like them, enjoying these bits that I come out with every week. And do click subscribe. This definitely helps out a lot. And share it on social media and share your thoughts on the comment below. I love a healthy discussion. Shout outs to John Vincent 7143. Shout outs to Rivalry 1994. And last but not least, shout outs to Ali 7677. It's weird that these names all have like numbers attached to them, which might make them seem like bots. But I do know based on their comments that you guys are super duper intelligent MPL Philippines fans. And I thank you. Talking about top of the charts, overtaking the defending champions, now taking the top spot. Number 1 most over team this week, to me, is the Super Fam, ONIC PH. ONIC PH plays very fast, very aggressive, and on a mechanical level, they are all either good or amazing. They are from stable to the standard. And so far, they're on a streak. They've only really lost 1 match to Ekko. And to close off week 4, they actually beat Ekko. So now they're the only ones in the league, in the season, to be able to try and beat AP Bren and Blacklist's record. Hell, even Ekko couldn't do that. So now with that said, ONIC has the biggest target on their back they've ever had in quite a while. So I'm afraid that they might crumble under the pressure, but the way I hear it, after a few conversations with some members of the team, they seem to be taking it one step at a time. Whatever's in front of them seems to be what they'll be dealing with, and I wish them the best. They are number 1, the most over team after week 4. And that puts our defending champions, the M5 World Champions, in number 2. AP Bren, second most over team this week in MPL Philippines. It's no secret that AP Bren sometimes gets a little cheeky. AP Bren sometimes like to bring out the whole rope-a-dope, the odd picks. They put a ruby in mid in the hands of few, for Pete's sake. But I don't think that's fundamentally wrong. I think they are the best when they're allowed to be creative, when they're allowed to break the metagame, and they've even done well to use a Florin this week. And sometimes you might think it's 5-head tech. Sometimes you might think that's Will Ferrell tactics, if you know that movie, you know what I'm talking about. But you got to take the good with the bad and the good with the not so good, but still okay. And I think AP Bren are learning from their losses. And I'd rather them lose here now and do much better where the stakes are high. So it's less of them being careless, it's less of them being playful, and more of them just learning and doing what they can with what they have. They're technically still also number 1 in the standings. They're just behind ONIC because ONIC is the one who beat them. So points-wise, equal. Standings-wise, number 2. And overs and unders, week 4 standings, number 2 as well. That's AP Bren. Third most over team this week for your boy is RSG PH. They are currently on a 4 sweep streak. That's right, 4 series 1-2-0 back to back to back to back. I'm happy for RSG PH, and what makes me even happier is the fact that they're now back to switching up their roster. They've up and switched up their mid laners this time around, and they've stuck with Nats. And in their most recent outing, they've let RTZ play to now actually getting a dub. So now we know that Aqua Nats works. Now we know RTZ Nats also works. So with that said, RSG, I think they are also still on schedule. If Coach Panda would give them a 6, a 7 from the first half of the regular season out of a scale of 10, who knows where they'll end up once we get to the playoffs, once we get past the playoffs, and if they can still keep their consistency in becoming a podium finish team. Because even with Nibor, even with Nats, even with Aqua, even with Arteezy, they seem to have that down pat. Which is not the same for the next team as we cross over into the unders category after we talk about our last over team. Our last over team this week is going to be none other than Minana Evos. They take top 4 spot in this week's charts for me personally. And why is that? Well, newsflash, Minana Evos is sitting on a 3-series win streak. Not just series win streaks, series sweeps. And because of that, they've scored 9 points and a nice little pat on the back. They are now so comfortable with their identity, and I don't expect them, with the Florin, the Angela, the Rafaela, and the Minotaur being active, to try and play around with the Arlot anymore. Now, we remember what happened to that Arlot in the hands of Spider Miles when they tried to switch it up. Now, I think they're going to try to make whatever works in Rome, whatever works in that mid-lane duo, and then go from there. Because, again, their side laners are more than stable. Their side laners are solid. You got Doming, you got Kirk, who, by the way, is also flexing his hero pool, and you have Lancey and Kaizen just to get that package wrapped up. And I like that the whole Bitoy Imba DJ situation is working. Haven't really heard from Coach Super Kurt as much, but there's also the rest of their lineup, the other 5 in Minana Evos' camp. But right now, with this tight 5-man roster that they've been fielding for the first 4 weeks, and the clear identity that they have, that they like to play around this utility roamer, and they're so good on the dive, I want to see more of them. They make for great fights. They make for great micro, and they play really well. Whether it be quick 15-minute games or 30-plus minute slobber knockers. Minana Evos covering up the first half of this week's charts. There's the last over team. We're going into under territory. These are teams that have something that they clearly need to work on. Teams that have stumbled and have caused their scores to suffer. And teams that I could only really hope to understand what's going on. We wish them the best, but it begs to be said, these are the under teams for me after week 4. Just barely crossing a threshold of over and under is our 5th team on the charts. That's Ekko. My thoughts for Ekko right now, whether it be the Zaida outplayed or the Benny Carlteezy variants, is their micro and their tactics are on point. It's just sometimes their opponents catch it so well that they become super punishable outplays. And it's in that moment that you cross the threshold of we can still go back, and it's too late. We have to go all in or nothing. And from there, you learn that what you're doing is right, but your opponents are just doing the more right thing. It's the difference between correct and excellent. So with that said, how do they solve that now? There's 2 lineups, 2 variants. Which do they try to address first? And which one will we see really take off and continue into the run into the playoffs? The last time that Ekko did this was in Season 10, and when they crossed over into the playoffs, they maintained a more consistent lineup. And it's that lineup that they took all the way straight to the grand finals. The grand finals that went 4-2. It's the same finals where Yawi brought out his Valier Rome and put on quite a show. That almost went all 7 games against Blacks International. They won the season after, they won the M4 after, and who knows, Ekko might be on the same trajectory from here on. But they got to get through week 5, week 6, week 7, and the playoffs to be able to do that. That's what they're dealing with right now. They are currently on a losing streak, and it's tough. Both variants have lost. Carlteezy, Benny, Zaida outplayed. Hoping Coach Tic Tac have the answers soon. The 6th team in the charts, meaning we're getting into dangerous territory, we're getting into hungry for points, we need this now category, is Blacklist International. So far, there seems to be two beats that Blacklist are following. Number one, they're trying to build up Haji, and that seems to be the solution. The problem, they seem to be lost when it comes to shot calling. I don't know how they're looking to solve that without Haji on the field, without Haji picking up on what to do exactly. Sure, he could be listening to the comms. Sure, there might be some things in the works behind the scenes during the weekdays, during scrims. But right now, I don't see that coming through just yet. Maybe we just have to let them cook. Maybe we just have to wait for them to be ready to deploy. And maybe we just trust the process. But number one, that process has to get them through to the playoffs. And currently they're on a 4-sweep losing streak. They've lost 4 series back to back to back to back with no points. Maybe this coming week 5, we see Haji back on the field. That might be Blacks International's way back into the safe zone. But right now, after week 4, they're currently under for me. Now, this is definitely the danger zone. More than just the lights turning red here. We're talking about number 7, second to the last team in this week's charts. And that's where we find the barangay. Ang bagong barangay, Smart Omega. Good news is, they've found a lineup that kind of works. It's got a 50% win rate. It's the OG OMG with Ukir in mid. They got a switch up in mid, put Exort into the MDL, and then got Ukir out. And that one got Omega their first sweeping victory in Season 13, but the very match after, couldn't do much. So what's next? Do they call for another switch up? After defeating TNC, after losing to RSG, where does Smart Omega go from here? Is there anything up the sleeves of Coach Stronger? Is there anything else that Coach Lembot and Coach Snap can do? Maybe the players have an answer. I'm struggling to find out. I want to support Smart Omega. I want to see them flourish. I want to see them shine. It's just looking dire because they're running out of time. And could it be that Season 13 be the very first season of MPL Philippines without Smart Omega in the playoffs? There's very little time left. Talking about the last team here in the charts for overs and unders after week 4, it's weird that it's looking like dire straits for Omega, but it might be tougher for TNC because we have not seen them do any switch-ups, call-ups between their roster and the MDL. Yeah, they had a switch-up between Super Yoshi and Nomad, but what's the out after this one? Where else do they look to find a solution to fix the situation, to get out of the predicament that they're in right now? It's because they're the last team in this week's overs and unders. One thing I can think about is maybe leverage the point system, is because we already talked about, to no end, their difficulty in communication, their difficulty in map control, the difficulty in maintaining that lead that they have from the early to mid, and then somehow, some ways, the opponent snaps into cruise control and takes the game from out underneath their noses. So now maybe they play the system. After solving in-game situations, maybe if they can find a way to win their next 4 series, they got 6 more games, 6 more matches after week 4. So if they can sweep the next 4, that'll give them 4 times 3, 12 points. And then they can deny the other teams the points. I don't know what the math is exactly, but if they do that, if they can sweep the next 4, then that could at least bring up their hopes, relight the fire, reignite it underneath them, and then go for a glory run. It's safe to say that both teams now in the 2 last slots in the unders category need that to go for them to even think of crossing over into the playoffs. But that's a situation that TNC finds themselves in now. And that's it for overs and unders for week 4 of MPL Philippines season 13. I am glad to see that there is quite the shakeup. Again, more on top than down in the bottom. But any change in the scales of power is something that I could appreciate. I really love it when you can't tell and you're uncertain of who's on top and who's gonna win, is because now at least there's a big three that we're definitely watching. There is ONIC PH, there's AP Bren, and there's Ekko. If some way, somehow, in week 5, 6, 7, we see these switch-ups, these changes, again, not much in the top now because points are slowly becoming more scarce. Maybe somewhere in the middle, maybe somewhere there, and maybe even in the switch-up as to who might make it through and who might be relegated. So far, so good. Again, speaking as a fan, speaking as a spectator, on behalf of the franchises though, especially for those who are struggling in points, I wish y'all the best. I really want to see y'all figure something out and shake up the system, shock the world. Let me know if you guys agree with my overs and unders, especially in the order, now that it's acting closer to a power rankings. Put in the comments below. Holla at your boy on social media at LeoCastsPH. Check out my website, why not? www.leocasts.ph. Let's work together and give my boy Ray Ash a holler. He makes sure that these videos, all my content comes out on a reliable and consistent basis so that y'all get the lowdown before the weekend comes, before game day. So with that said, I'll see y'all when I see y'all. Peace out. Take care. Escalera the magician, baby girl, he got so many tricks up his sleeve. Escalera the magician, oh now you see him, now you don't. Ooh, cause he could steal. Escalera the magician, ooh, Escalera the magician. Escalera the magician, he gon' hook you, baby. Escalera, yeah, escalera, escalera, oh baby, oh yeah, oh yeah.